spending and spending and spending, thinking there'd be no tomorrow.
Sending the club to ruins.
The team that once ruled Europe were an embarrassment in the Champions League. But the youth academy has saved them, and there's a sort of poetry in that.
Pep Guardiola's era was almost perfect.
They probably had the best manager in their history. They had the best player who's ever played the game, and they had the best youth system they'd ever had. They just played fantasy football that we'd never really seen before, and it was brutally effective as well because they won things.
He had like a culture on the team, on the city. Like everyone was very happy with him, but then suddenly he left and people didn't know what to do.
The last peak was in 2015 when they won the Champions League under Luis Enrique. When you've been doing things in a certain way and has given you success for such a long period, then you repeat that. When in fact what you're supposed to do is change.
When Guardiola left, the people still was asking Barcelona for winning the treble every single year.
50 years ago, fans were not used to see Barcelona winning every single trophy, but now they are. And they want Barcelona just to win every single trophy. And to win every single trophy, you have to buy players and you have to compete with Real Madrid.
When Neymar was sold, Catalan journalists said to me, "We're not worried about Neymar leaving, we're worried about what they're going to do with the money."
When Neymar leaves and you decide to spend your money, basically throwing the money away on Griezmann, Coutinho, Dembélé, all great players, but overpaying as well. And the way they did was basically sending the club to ruins.
They spent probably 400 million euros on those three players, and they spent all the money. They didn't spend some of the Neymar money, they spent all of it.
But it's not those signings only, it's also the fact of the contract extensions that they just gave. With the money that came in after Neymar, a lot of players wanted a contract extension, and basically Barcelona just gave everything that they wanted.
And they didn't accompany that with the renewal of the rest of the side. And they kept repeating the same mistakes to a point where the debt was just immense. Not helped by the fact that there was COVID in the middle, which meant that all of a sudden when they have to raise 1 billion euros in income to be able to pay everything, there was no money that was coming in.
In the Giuseppe Bartomeu era, they were complacent, spending and spending and spending, thinking there'd be no tomorrow, no day. They had to foot the bill for all of the expenses that they were generating.
There's a symbolic, iconic even moments. The famous Trent corner in Anfield. There was nobody shouting, no leadership from the bench. All of a sudden you see a team that depended solely on Messi saving them.
Losing 4-0 at Anfield after leading from the first leg by 3 goals was a massive trauma for Barcelona, and it shook the club to its core.
That defeat in Liverpool was really traumatic for the club.
But it was one of several massive traumas that occurred in the Champions League over those 3 seasons. One before, when they also threw away a similar lead at Roma, and one afterwards where they were absolutely thrashed 8-2 by Bayern Munich. And all 3 of those matches really broke the club.
The team that once ruled Europe were an embarrassment in the Champions League.
As Johan Cruyff would say, every disadvantage has its advantage. And at the time where you don't have money, you have to be creative.
In times of crisis, they look at the academy and they found solutions.
La Masia is absolutely a cheat code for Barcelona. If they can bring in players like Lamine Yamal, Gavi, Pau Cubarsí, then they've got players that could stay in that team for 10 years.
I don't know why Barcelona don't look at it more often. January 2011 in the Ballon d'Or, the top 3 were Messi, Xavi and Iniesta, but they weren't giving La Masia the space and the time that you require to develop those talents. But in times of crisis, boom, they've come in and said, yeah, we belong to the elite. So it is exciting. It is exciting that Pau Cubarsí is one of the best passers of the ball as a centre-back there is in the world. It's exciting that Lamine Yamal is a genius.
With Pedri, Inigo Martinez, very good mix of Spanish Catalan players coming also through the youth ranks, and this could be the start of a cycle.
The youth academy has saved them, and there's a sort of poetry in that because that's what they've always based more than a club on, and at the moment it's the thing that's keeping them upright.
It's 10 years since the last time Barca won the Champions League. I wouldn't say people is angry, but they want to win the Champions League. The president knows it. The players knows it.
It is really, really important. It's the biggest competition, the one that has the biggest reputation, the biggest pedigree, but the one that can change the mood around the city.
Barcelona all of a sudden feel themselves with the appearance of La Masia players, that they've got depth in the squad, but they're young players. So I wouldn't ask for Barcelona to go and get the Champions League, otherwise it's failure.
I don't really know if Barca is able to win the Champions League this year, but I'm pretty sure that in the next 2 or 3 years they will win the Champions League.